Hello, everybody. As you know, I'm terrible with social media and video editing and stuff, so it's pretty much just going to be a live video with no scripting and stuff like that. I'm going to try to keep the camera on the tripod as much as possible so that things aren't shaking around and stuff like that. But obviously, I do need to get closer to show you things, so I'll probably pause the video, zoom in. People who make real videos don't explain what they're doing when they make the videos. I build pinball machines. I don't do video editing. So this is our newest model. So basically, we are now offering, I call them lockdown bar editions. So the thought is going to be, I'm still going to have my previous three model, which is my Pro Premium and LE, and those are my full-size machines. They will have the wooden lockdown bar. It's not called a lockdown bar, the wooden apron. Same machine that I've been building for the last 9 or 10 years. I believe what I'm doing is on all three of those models, I'm now going to have what's called basically a lockdown bar edition. And for the time being, so this video might change, or the pricing might change, but for the time being, all the lockdown bar stuff is an at-cost upgrade. So I already make money building the machine together. You know, am I charging more money just because I have a lockdown bar? Well, yes, but it's literally the cost of me acquiring the lockdown bar. So I would have to look into it. The pricing isn't important for this video, but I think it's somewhere around $600 or $650 Canadian. And the difference between the two is then obviously we have a metal lockdown bar. We have metal side rails. The cabinet is completely different. So the cabinet is a reworking from the ground up. And I'll talk about some features, bugs or features, if we want to call them that, on it. There's also a dedicated 8-inch 200-watt subwoofer that's built into the bottom of the cabinet. Obviously the glass channel, the glass is the same but a different size and stuff like that. And then obviously that price has gone up because of the tariffs. If tariffs no longer exist, then I suspect that price will come down by 25%. So again, I'm not marking up with the tariff. I'm not marking up 25% of my labor and 25% of the shipping and all that other jazz. The tariff is only on the product itself. So again, because I'm dealing with just at cost at the moment, that should drop, I think, by 25% if and when these tariffs stop. Who knows? But enough with that. Let me turn down the volume for a quick sec. And I'll just go over some of the features. Now, basically, this machine as it sits outside of the lockdown bar is basically almost the same as my LE model from the previous. There are going to be some hardware things that are different. There are going to be some things that are different with this machine because it's my personal machine. Some things are better, some things are worse. Some things are a work in progress. So I don't have exactly dialed in, but I'm going to be doing that once the summer ends in September. Dialing in terms of the different packages, like you can see that there's a topper, and right now it's literally just a piece of acrylic with vinyl on top. Well, I'm going to be backlighting those. Okay, so then, well, do I have ones that are just backlit and white? Do I have RGB ones? I have a CNC machine now, so I can go and kind of cut crazy designs out of this so that the toppers look a little bit nicer. At the moment, it's just a rectangle that I slap on top, and then I'm probably going to put white LEDs behind it, configured with DOF so that it flashes when it does certain things. Whoops, kicking the camera there. Yeah, in this video, I'm not going to be able to show you opening the machine up and showing you what's under, but obviously a perk to this build, which is the lockdown bar edition, is that we can just pull the lockdown bar off, glass channel slides out, playfield can go and get lifted up. At the moment, it's just a bungee cord mount, so you just have a bungee cord and you just attach it to the back of the back box and it holds the TV up. But that seems to work, and it's an easy fix rather than having to engineer things and worrying about stuff failing and falling and the TV breaking. Yeah, so let's, what am I going to do? I guess for people who don't know my machines and what they all do and stuff, I'll kind of, pause and show some highlights of the different machines, I guess, or the different parts and stuff. Actually, let's just, again, not working with the script. So as you can see, I have RGB fire buttons. That's been standard on my LE models now for a couple years. So basically, just in the front end in attract mode, that's kind of saying, hey, press me, turn a game on type of thing. That will work. Like, it is DOF controlled. So if you're playing things like Attack from Mars and you've got Martian bombs, that'll go and flash red when you're in the certain mode so that you know that you can hit it. And it does work at like an action button on all the Stern games that need that button to do what it's supposed to do type of things. It can be used as a plunger, so it can be used as an auto plunge. It can be used to just pull back the plunger for if some reason you don't want to do that, or you're lazy and you don't want to pull the plunger. The button works for that. In games like, let's say, Lethal Weapon 3, where it doesn't have a plunger system, it's just, like the gun, and you pull the trigger on the gun to shoot. That button obviously then takes place of, your firing button and your Uzi control, and you just smash the button or hold onto it to do things like that. Works just like a regular ape and fire button, let's call it that. But then because of DOF, obviously you can insert that in other games that didn't originally have them, which would generally be for shooting your ball and stuff like that. RGB controlled, so a lot of RGB controlled lights, which we don't see here because we're in attract mode. So your flipper buttons, your flipper and MagnaSave nudge type of thing, those are also DOF controlled. So generally those are static. You're gonna go turn on Attack from Mars, they're gonna be red or something like that. And I will show in the video, hey, here's gameplay footage type of thing. And then you'll see all these lights go off and stuff like that. I have my topper and my beacons at the moment disconnected because I'm just working through those. What was I going to say? Okay, so those are RGB controlled. There is behind, so I've got, what's it called? Side rail art? No, art blades. So I put art blades in there. They don't have to be there. I kind of did it as it's brand new and it's kind of an experiment. I do find that obviously the lighter the side blades are, the more light from the LEDs it lets come through. Because right now the art blades are somewhat hiding the LEDs. So you don't see the LED strips in there. They're hidden behind the vinyl. The vinyl is semi-translucent, semi-transparent. So light does come through, but then obviously the darker that is, the less light it blocks, the more light it blocks. But that provides RGB light. So I've got it so, when you're hitting the bumpers and stuff like that, then those will go off. There is a set of 5 RGB LEDs and then plus 2 strobes, like white strobes. So there's 7 lights there. We've got RGB lights behind the speakers. So, you're hitting, I think I have them set to pop bumpers as well. When those are hitting, those are flashing off. I wanted stuff where it's like when you're hitting things, they go off fairly regularly and change color and flash at you and stuff. Bumpers are a good way to do that because obviously you're generally hitting 3 bumpers and then you can potentially connect them to the different ones. So when you hit the one, long story short, you hit the bumpers, those lights go off like crazy. Undercab LEDs are RGB controlled. DOF controlled RGB lights. A lot of times those are static per table. You can configure these on a 1x1 basis if you want to get into that. A lot of times they're static. Sometimes those are also set up to like certain triggered events and stuff like that so that your RGBs will flash under the table and stuff like that versus just staying static. That's it for lighting. What else? So obviously we have a working plunger. The plunger works. I use all of Zeb's board stuff. I know that he's kind of closed to the retail market. Commercially, he's still making stuff for me. So at least for the time being, I'm still supporting my local Canadian guys and using Zeb's products as much as possible. In this one, I had he called it a shaker board. Long story short, it was kind of like configured for me the way I was doing things. So it's kind of the last of that generation. I've got maybe a couple left, and then I'm moving to his cab blaster, which is basically the same thing. It just adds way more stuff. So you can add 24-volt toys to it if you want. There's way more outputs, different things like that. So I might not be utilizing them all at the same time or at the beginning, but it does allow for other products to get installed, 24-volt solenoids and contactors and way more toys and stuff like that I don't necessarily put in the machines. I guess I should talk about, I'll talk about the toys next. So toys wise, inside the machine, it has one of Zeb's makes a shaker product. So I've got a shaker motor in there. The plunger I consider a toy. It's got beacons. Zeb's has stopped making these beacons, so I'm probably gonna switch out to the Wolos or something like that in terms of the beacons. I don't use contactors / solenoids in my builds. the primary, there's a few different reasons. Cost is one thing. I don't think they're all that functional. I don't personally find that they have a lot of benefit over SSF. They're loud. You can turn them off. You can't turn them down. Whereas with SSF and everything digital, you can turn the volume down. You can put it in Bluetooth mode, and you can still hear all the sounds. Contactors, they're either on or off. You can't do anything with them. They can break often. The main thing that I stress with my builds are if you own a screwdriver and you are physically capable of using a screwdriver, because some people obviously don't have abilities to do certain things, they have to hire people, but that's fine. But as long as the person in control can use a screwdriver and has the ability to turn it and, you know, physically do some stuff, there is nothing on this machine that you cannot fix yourself with very, very little diagnosis and a tutorial video for me or a live video streamer, something like that. I don't need people going out and getting tools to test fuses and, well, what happens this, you know, my resistor blew up or my capacitor and all these other things. Like, it's the perk of a digital pinball machine is it doesn't have the problems of a real pinball machine. So the more real pinball parts you put in a machine, the more real pinball problems you have. That's not the product I'm selling. Nothing against those products. It's not right or wrong. It's personal preference. Like I said, mine are for people who want the machine to be way more reliable, not break near as often. If something does go wrong, everything that's on here, they can fix themselves. Software-wise, I can log on to the machine and fix any software if there's any software issues. Hardware-wise, especially now with the lockdown bar edition, way easier to get under the thing, whether it's I got to swap out a hard drive, your GPU PSU blew up, one of your speakers blew up. Like, we're talking about breaking, so things have to blow up to break. A loose wire is not really breaking, but a loose wire, obviously, you just plug in. Got really mad at Derek having a higher score than me, so I smashed the TV and I got to replace the TV. Everything that's in here, 100% user replaceable with a screwdriver and a little bit of direction. So that's the way I build my machines, because I'm selling my machines all over North America and stuff like that. I'm not flying out to Vancouver to fix a pinball machine. I will absolutely be on the phone and making tutorial videos and stuff like that for people so they can fix them themselves. Very, very easy. Toys. What else? Okay, so from the sound side, especially with this model, so I think I'm up to 9 speakers now. So I have to try and think what these are. Effing loud. I don't know. They're 100 watts or something silly. Yeah, those are loud. Those are your back box sounds. So everything music-wise, your primary playfield. I'm just seeing if I can. Okay, so it's obviously not loud now because I don't have them. I don't have them loud, but long story short, those get loud, and that is what's hooked up to the 8-inch sub, at least for now. I might be moving things around and trying to tie multiple sounds through the sub, but the back box sound, so all your music, you're playing AC/DC, you're listening to Thunderstruck, that is coming through the sub. Yeah, so let's call that's an amplifier, 2.1 sound. That is controlling it's called, technically that's your front channel. So I have an amp dedicated to the front channel, which is your back box sounds, your music sounds, your primary window sounds, and that is attached to an 8-inch, let's call it a floor sub. I don't know, it's not on the floor, whatever it's called. It's an 8-inch actual car subwoofer in the bottom of the cabinet, which is, I didn't have those on my previous models. So again, that is an upgrade that happens with the lockdown bar edition because the cabinet is different. It's already pre-cut for those holes. That's the sound. So then on our mid channel, right? So basically everything the middle and north end of the playfield, that's considered your mid channel. On that channel, I have two, they call BST8s, HDN8s. Right, so 2 HDN8s on the mid channel. On the back channel, which is your flippers and your slingshots and stuff like that, 2 HDN8s right here, right by your flippers and stuff, because it's making a lot of your flipper sounds. I've got 2, I'm not going to remember the name of them, 2 bass pucks that are on the front of the cabinet here near the lockdown bar. That gives you all like your thud, thud, thud. So it gives you kind of more of a deep bass sound. Again, it's kind of by where your hands are and stuff like that, so you feel it the most. Really, really feel it, on like the slingshots and stuff like that. Whereas flippers, they're not really bass sounding, but on the slingshots, chunk, chunk, and then you feel them. So 2 bass pucks, exciters. These are all exciter speakers or I don't know what it's called, exciters. Sound transducing speakers. The only real speakers are these guys, but we've got 2 speakers, 4 speakers, 6 speakers, and then subwoofer, and then 2 bass exciters. So I think that's 9 speaker surround sound feedback is what we have in here. And I'll probably turn it on second half of the video or second video type of thing, showing it working, and it is loud and it thumps. So a lot of people are saying, hey, if it doesn't have contactors and solenoids and stuff like that and make the clicky clacky sound. So contactors do absolutely nothing, to the best of my knowledge, because it's literally just a click, 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 click. So you're hearing the same mechanical noise, but it's mechanical. So it's just one sound. You hear it all the time. It's consistent on a table per table basis. Clack, 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 clack. You hear the same sound. A solenoid actually has a moving part and it's firing a piston. So there is theoretically some sort of tactile feedback from that, as long as they have enough weight that they're actually doing something. So there's some sort of feedback with the mechanical. In terms of feeling, well, does it feel like a real pinball machine? Absolutely not, in the sense that I think it feels better. Now obviously that's a personal opinion. Outside of the shaker motor going off, if you closed your eyes, I don't honestly feel like there is a ton of tactile feedback that comes from a pinball. You feel it a little bit. There's some vibrations. With the surround sound feedback, the difference is everything that makes sound also gets converted to tactile feedback. So every sound that comes through those speakers vibrates the cabinet. So again, is it real? No, it's fake, but some people, when you get used to it, you might like it better. So when the ball rolls around the table, you don't not only hear the ball, but you feel the ball. And if they have the SSF dialed in really, really well, the table makers and stuff, as the ball's traveling here, this is the speaker that's setting off the sound, so you feel it here. And then when it moves up here, the sound's coming from there. Theoretically, you feel it more there, but it's all kind of on that side. It's mainly left and right, but there is technically zones where it happens too. Like you might feel the ball sound a little bit less because the volume is different and it's further away, and therefore the vibrations are coming further away. The things that happen on the right side of the cabinet, you feel on the right side of the cabinet. Like when the pop bumpers are going off, you feel it more on the right-hand side than you do on the left-hand side. That's the perk of surround sound feedback. Again, it's way more tactile in terms of feedback than a real machine. That technically makes it not as good in a sense, because it's different. If the real machine is 100%, then a different feeling has to be less than that. But some people might like it more. I like the feedback of this machine way more because there's way more feedback. What I tell people, it's kind of like playing, now that they have them, I'm not a huge console guy. I don't think they make console controllers that don't have rumble packs inside them. It's something that people want and expect now. You're playing a game in Street Fighter, you're getting punched, whatever it is, your controller vibrates to let you know that something's happening. I don't think they make consoles that don't have them. They might, and then you're going to notice, whoa, well, this feels completely different. It's kind of like when you're playing the FX tables and you don't have the DOF all set up and stuff. It's, oh, well, now I'm playing digital pinball and lights aren't going off. Your surround sound feedback's not going off. You're getting the beeps and boops, but there is nothing talking back to you from a tactile feedback standpoint saying, hey, I'm actually playing pinball, than visually than what you can see on the screen. Playing FX and not having DOF installed is playing virtual pinball, right? Whereas if you have everything, it's way more of a pinball simulator. Let's try and make this thing as close to the real machine as possible, but obviously there are pros and cons to it. Not really going to get into the difference between real and digital. They are what they are. It's a pinball simulator. It simulates pinball, and it simulates every table ever made, as opposed to this one that I wake up and I'm like, the only thing I can play on this machine is Ninja Turtles pinball. It's real pinball. It's got a real ball and it clacks around and stuff like that. So when I want to play pinball, I'm playing that, and my only choice is Ninja Turtles or spend thousands of dollars. Whereas this, I buy it once. It's not real pinball. It's a pinball simulator. And I buy the machine once and it takes up the floor space of one, and I get to play basically every table ever made. What else is there to say about toys, flashy stuff? Computers, obviously, like there's, depending on the model and stuff like that, there's different tiers to the things and, what computer do we want to put in it. Computers, I've always been upfront with everyone. Computers, there is no labor in computers. Whether I put in computer A or computer B, $1,000 computer or $10,000 computer, it's the same thing. So if you don't like a $2,000 computer and you want a $10,000 computer, pay me $8,000 more and now magically you have a $10,000 computer in it. There's no labor involved. So all that computer stuff is all at cost. I generally buy the computer and the GPU separate, which generally allows for, hey, I've already got the computers in stock and everything is all set up. What video card do you want? If the guy wants a 5090, obviously I got to buy a different computer because power supplies are going to be different and stuff. But generally speaking, then it's like, what level of card do you want based on the screen and future-proofing your machine and all that other jazz. So the computer is kind of a redundant topic to talk about because I can make it whatever you want. The only thing that's important is based on this price point, you get this computer. If you want more than that computer, then pay the at cost difference or mail me your used computer, whatever you want. Screens, so my LE models at least. LEs and premiums. Premium and LEs are all, so I think my Pro Premium LE, I believe, it's been a while. I haven't sold anything other than an LE in probably 3 years. I believe it's 60 and then 120 and then 144. Some of the screens I'm using, it seems like every time I use a 43-inch screen, I'm like, I use them for 2 years and then they go out. So I don't know exactly what I'm doing in the future once I run out of my stock. Hopefully the screens that I'm using right now, which is really good for the customer because they work absolutely amazingly and they're about half the price of all the other options. So I just cut that cost out of my machines and sold my machines for cheaper. Obviously the price goes up if I have to use different screens. So I don't know what I'm doing with the screens yet, other than I still have some in stock of the 144 hertz models that I'm using. Yeah, but this one's 144. It's a 43-inch screen, so it basically will fit any 43-inch screen. If we want to put the 42-inch LG C4 type of thing, that's definitely going to fit in here. We just bezel it out a little bit differently. At the moment, these are 19s and these are 32s. Will I ever go to a 15-inch model? Maybe. It's kind of like I have the room for a 19, so let's put 19 in. That's what I've always been doing. So for now, that's what I'm building. What else? Should I talk about the aesthetics? Yeah, the difference between this model, let's talk about this from an aesthetics standpoint. I don't even have an older model to show you. Basically, my older model, if we ignore the lockdown bar, looks almost identical to the Stern. The main difference, what I've done, and let's see if, I'm gonna pause the video so we don't shake everywhere. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so the main difference between how I build my cabinets, again, I might change in the future if the demand is something completely different. I did this a specific way because I like the look of this, and generally I'm the one building, and I want to like what I do. So I build them this way because I think it looks the best. I think, based on what I'm using at least. So I have a lockdown bar. Right at the edge of the lockdown bar, I have screen. And then the screen goes right to the edge of the screen. Then I have my light bar. I don't use those big matrices that are like massive and on an angle and stuff like that. So on a normal 43-inch screen and a normal size pinball machine, you've got these massive gaps. And this isn't a slight on other builders. It's just how it physically works. If you have a 43-inch screen on a regular sized pinball, which I think they're generally 50 to 52 inches long, I think, depending on the make and model, you've got probably like a decent 6-inch gap. That might be excessive. It might be 6 inches from here. But anyways, you've got the lockdown bar, which takes a bit of it. So I think my wooden apron was 5.75 inches. And I think off the top of my head, this is like 3 something. So you've got this 2 to 3 inch gap and you're just like, well, what do I do with this gap? And some people, they install like these angled matrices and stuff like that, which is fine. Again, it's personal preference. Some people will say, oh, it's a digital pinball machine and I don't like this, or hey, it doesn't have real parts in it. That's why you need to put in real pop bumpers and stuff like that. And then they'll throw on this matrix there. And I'm like, okay, well, there's never been a matrix in a pinball machine like that. Maybe Circus Voltaire, right? So everything is personal preference. It's what do you like? There's lots of different builders. So it's, hey, this guy doesn't offer what I want. This guy does. This guy has a price that I like. This guy doesn't. So the good thing is there's different builders doing different things and building things differently. It's always great having customer choice. It's always great having competition in the market, from a feature standpoint, from a pricing standpoint. Different things like that. So I build it that you are screen to screen, edge to edge, front and back. I like the look of that. I like it aesthetically. You can probably see on the camera that there's some light bleed. It's because this is my machine and I set the height wrong and then I haven't gone back in and reset it. On my customer machines, which I'm going to do a video on because he's getting his machine in about a week, there's no light bleed. The TV is installed a little bit higher and then you don't have the light from the fans going through. So just in case anyone noticed that and wants to tackle me on my light bleed that's coming through the bottom of my screen there. It's my machine and I'm not too worried about it, but customers don't get that bug. Let's call it that way. What else? Oh, so this is unimportant stuff, but different things that I've changed from my previous model, just from an aesthetic standpoint. I made my back box slightly, it's not taller, but it's longer in the sense that, okay, we got to come off tripod now. So it's going to be, but I'll keep it widescreen. So I'll try to keep it so that we're not crazy. So I've done stuff like this where it's now got a bit of a lip here. That's the way Stern makes theirs. I thought it kind of looks nice. Whereas usually I had this, like, let's call it edge to edge, right? It was there into there. So that's just this nice little feature. It's got a quarter inch reveal all the way around now. So again, we've got side blades. What are these called? Back box hinges, side armor. So I forgot to mention this. So because this cabinet, you can't tell from this because one's closer to the wall. So you're kind of like, oh, it actually does look like the same size. I think off the top of my head, this is 4 to 6 inches shorter than a regular cabinet. So we can see that we're not right at the wall, but if we're lined up there, it's a few inches shorter at the back. So depending on how much you stare at pinball machines, oh, now that I'm looking at it and you told me about it, it looks a little bit stubby. From the front, you never notice. The couple customers that I've sold them to have actually preferred it because they're like, hey, you know what? I don't have as much room and it is a little bit shorter. Whoops, let's get my finger out of there. But that is one thing to note. It's a slightly shorter cabinet because I'm cutting off all that excess dead space that I don't need and don't want. Yeah, I think that's all there is to that. On my model, so I now have these 3D printed. I've done a bunch of 3D printing stuff. So I 3D print now little nut covers rather than like spray painting those, just less for it to chip and stuff like that. I 3D print those, your fire button risers. There's a bunch of internal parts that I 3D print, just making the inside. The inside of the cab looks awesome. I'll probably clip that from another video that I did for a customer. Really, really neat and tidy. Everything is kind of tucked away. So all the DOF wires are hidden underneath let's call it like its own little separate box. So the subwoofer is boxed out, so you don't see the subwoofer. Everything is underneath it. I've got power supplies on top. The shaker motor and speaker wires and stuff like that, that's all boxed in so you don't see it. All the DOF stuff, so all the wiring for your DOF, for your lights, for everything, that's all underneath and boxed in, and you can pull it out if you need access to it and make the wires nice and long so you can get access to them and stuff like that. So outside of the wires that are going up along the sides of the cabinet, all the wires kind of go in and get hidden. So everything is very, very neat and tidy. It's kind of like there's 3 compartments. I'm not going to try and say that word. 3 compartments for space. On your front, you've got your amplifiers and then your intake fans. So there's 2 12-inch fans, 12 centimeter fans sucking air up into the cabinet. and then it flows over top of everything. You've got your compartments there for, like I said, your DOF, your shaker, your subwoofer, and then there's a compartment at the back, and that's for your computer system. And then at the back of the machine, which I haven't tidied up and finished yet, but long story short, we've got the back box, and that's just hinged, so it hinges down, so you don't really have access to it unless you pull it out, but your back box is probably the thing you're going to go into the absolute least, because there's nothing really in there other than your TV breaking. There's not a ton of reason to go in there. And then in here, we've got our output fans, and then we can't see it here. I'll probably show you in a different video, but I've got an access port there, and then that is there's a screw off cover, so you can unscrew it. You can screw it in and screw it out. It's got the the threaded inserts and stuff like that. It'll make more sense when I take a picture in a video of the other machine. Again, this is kind of just going over all the features. I can't show absolutely everything all at once because now that it's installed, I'll probably show a previous video of what it looks like when it's not in there, and then I can flap open the hood and stuff like that, because you don't really care what the art looks like. You just want to see the inside of the machine, and then I can show the inside of the machine. I think that's about it. Let's pause for 2 seconds. Okay, I apologize for sound levels. I may or may not be yelling directly into the camera. So I just wanted to show you what it looks like when it's all lit up and running and stuff like that. And I'm going to kind of shoot the ball around. Just know that the angle of the camera and the lighting and all that other stuff, it doesn't necessarily reflect what I'm seeing. I'm not recording at the right speed. My camera seems to... I have an HDR thing that's going on. I don't know why it does that yet. Anyways, long story short, we can see with the tack from ours, now we have red undercab lighting. We can see that our flippers have also gone red. And then we've got a red fire button. This one doesn't have a plunger. So we can see there's lights going off in different spots based on what's happening. I've got a full playthrough video that I made for a customer when I just finished his machine. So I'll probably post that. I think all this stuff is going to go to YouTube based on the length of the videos. I'll probably put that up as well, just so people can see, like a full gameplay with lights and stuff going off. I'm obviously not going to play, because if I play Attack from Mars, it's like 30-minute games. So. So one thing people can do, or I usually show customers when they come over, and I don't know if it's because they're used to playing real pinball, but they'll come and they're like, oh, I don't know if I really notice what the surround sound feedback does. So basically I'll have it all on, and they just feel stuff, so they just assume that's what it feels like, because that's what playing a pinball machine feels like. And then I turn the sound off, and I just have the sound coming through the TV, and it's just, the difference is, like I said, it's like playing playing Call of Duty and firing a gun on your rumble controller, and it's just firing all the time, and your hands are shaking, and then you're just playing on a regular old PS1 controller that doesn't have any rumble packs in it, and then it's just, you just lose all connection with what you're actually playing, right? You're no longer firing a gun, you're just pressing a button on a controller, right? That's basically the difference. I think that's about it. And then stuff that I'm working on, just as information. So I already have our pinball machines. So outside of arcades, I have, kind of like how I said with my aesthetic of I want to go screen to screen and I don't want to leave these gaps. I will never in my life put joysticks and buttons on the front of my pinball machine. Nothing against people that do it. That's obviously their style. And again, great. There are makers, even in Canada, that makes machines like that. I'm not going to do it. And I have reasons for it. I don't want to offend anyone that does it. My aesthetic or my personal choices, I'm never going to do it. However, There are things, because we've got a really good computer in it and stuff like that. So the thing that I decided to do, I had, and it's an optional add-on, you absolutely don't need to have it, but how do I keep this thing looking 100% like a pinball machine, but still being able to play certain things? So underneath the machine, not mine, on my previous one, haven't installed it on this yet, but underneath the machine, there are gun holsters. So when they're tucked away, they're all, bundled up and you don't see them. When you want to play gun games, you can pull the gun games out. And then again, I don't have it on here yet. I have it in a previous video that you can look on YouTube. It's old and antiquated, but I believe the videos worked. I should have taken more updated videos of it. But long story short, everything keyboardless operation. From here, I can exit out of my Pinball X front end, go to the Windows desktop. Well, I can kind of show it with this, kind of sort of, and then I'll just see what's happening. So from here, I'm going to go to exit. It's now exited. We're going to see that there's going to be a screen that pops up in a second, right? I made it visual. I can absolutely hide that. I made it visual so that people understand that it's working. So from here with another program, because the arcade is going to play on the 32-inch screen and not the playfield, or else it's going to be sideways. So with some keystrokes, I should call them button presses, without touching your keyboard, there's a button that you can press now on the pinball machine that is going to turn that into the primary monitor. And then there's a button you can press on the playfield, on the pinball machine, that is going to launch up the hyperspin front end. And there, from there, you can go and select all your gun games, and you can do all that, again, either on the gun or on the pinball machine. Shoot, go kill all your bad guys, shoot your aliens and stuff. Exit the system, and now you're back to here. Press another button. It turns this back to your playfield monitor. And then I have this at least set up. I can go and press and hopefully it works, or else I look silly. It's going to work. There we go. I just press a button on there, and then I'm back into my pinball mode. Right? So I can change from pinball mode to arcade mode, from arcade mode back to pinball mode. Everything is done via the playfield, never need a keyboard. My machines, I have them set up, so as long as everything is working properly, unless you're updating tables or making tweaks, you can turn on your machine, you can turn off your machine, you can go to arcade mode, you can go back to pinball mode and back and forth, turn the machine off, turn it on, sleep it, unsleep it, do all that jazz. Everything is done just with the pinball machine. The keyboard is just in case something's not working or I want to treat my machine like a pinball machine, like a computer. As long as you're treating it like a pinball machine or like an arcade machine, you shouldn't have to touch the controller or the keyboard, which is pretty awesome. What I'm going to be testing out on this machine, because I was talking about arcade games, well, for those people that absolutely want to play the arcade games on it, cool. I'm going to look to have like an arcade package, and basically it's going to be the same thing, except instead of the guns, or maybe even with the guns, everything depends on the number of USB ports. I guess I can get a hub, so ignore that part, edit that out, which I'm not going to do. Basically, you can also then have wireless. Let me just see here. I have them right here. You've got your wireless game pads that have all these bajillions of buttons on them and rumble pack feedback and all that other jazz. So again, from this system, if someone just really wants to play Pac-Man on their pinball machine, they can exit out, they can go into the arcade system, and then you have hyperspin and all that stuff, and it's going around and says, hey, play Pac-Man, and then you click on Pac-Man and your marquee shows up here. Different things like that. And then with your gamepad, so again, is it playing it with the arcade stick? No, but if you're really that picky about it, why the heck are you playing arcade games on a pinball machine? So if all you want to do is just, well, I have access to it, I want to play arcade games on a pinball machine, great. On my system, it's going to be via gamepad versus crouching down and being angled backwards and trying to play 2 feet off the ground with joysticks on your pinball machine, and then you're trying to play pinball with joysticks in the way. Yeah, so that's something that I'm setting up on this, and then I'm going to do, and I'm going to be demoing that once I get that done. Once summer comes around, I'm going to try to be more into social media and just demoing things that they do. Hey, new games are coming out. New versions of the game came out. I might demo it on the arcades. I might also demo it on here, just in terms of what is easier for me to stream with and stuff like that. But my business has been primarily VPins now for the last 4 or 5 years. So a lot of the content that's going to be coming out is for the pinball machines. But then like I said, or if you checked on my YouTube, I do have newer versions of the LE that now, because they come with the game pads and stuff like that, you can play much more updated games. You can get a Patreon for Technopair and stuff like that. So we're playing up to Golden Tee 2014 on those systems now. I don't know when newer versions are coming out. 3 months ago, it was only up to Golden Tee 2012. Now 13 and 14 have come out as well. So really cool games that you can play on there. The gun games are absolutely fantastic. Like, I love having guns on my system, whether it's on the pinball machine or on the arcade, because I literally just turned over my floor models. I don't have guns on either. And now Technopair has, 20 more gun games than they had when I last did it. So a lot of my content is probably going to be installing the gun game and saying, hey, here's this new gun game that came out, Wild West Shootout, or this is Walking Dead, or whatever the case is. Because some of them are obviously going to be Patreon locked, which I do have, or some of them are not going to be Patreon locked. So depending on what version you have, they generally unlock eventually. But there's a ton of really, really cool games that are not Patreon locked. I'm going to guess we're probably at the 45 or 50 count, and then probably 25 or so that are Patreon locked at the moment. That's it. There's a 40-minute video. If anyone sat through the entire thing, thanks. Find something else to do with your day, I guess. But yeah, Woodstock Custom Arcades now selling machines fully built in Canada by one or two dudes, depending on who's building it at the time. We don't drop ship our machines from China like some other builders do. Again, not good or bad. I'm not. So my machines are not made in China. Me and my partner have built them by hand. Every part is installed by one of us. I know the systems inside out. The software is all programmed and arranged by me. I know the software inside and out. If I have a customer and they've got an issue, if it's hardware, well, I built it, so I know everything that's going into it. So the troubleshooting is pretty straightforward. Obviously, I can't fix a blown up amp remotely, and my only option is, hey, let me send you a new amplifier. But I'm going to be able to diagnose it, and I'm going to be able to send you a new amplifier instantaneously. Not instantly, right away. Anything software, I can log on your machines. I can go and fix things. Something stopped working, different stuff like that. I'm obviously able to service everything because I know the machine inside and out. So that's the perk of building the machine yourself versus someone else building the machine, and then hopefully you have enough knowledge to service it, because obviously no one's getting any support if they call another country generally. Yeah, so 100% everything. I'm not saying everything is made in Canada. I don't know. These TVs are probably not made in Canada. Some of these buttons are not made in Canada, but the machine itself is all parts, and everything is getting put together by us in Ontario. I think that's it. Anyways, if you're looking for a virtual pinball machine or an arcade machine, give me a shout. I'll talk you through options. I can talk you through pricing. I'm not really a salesperson. I'm an order taker. I've got the machines. I say, these are machines. These are the options. This is the price point. You like my machines or don't like my machines. I want my machines to sell themselves. I don't want a salesperson selling the machine. My customers are always happy with me. They're always happy with the service, because I don't push sales. If someone's on the fence of whether or not they want to get a machine, I'm not pushing them over the edge for it. That way there's no buyer's remorse. They're happy with what they have. I support all my customers. What was I going to say? That's about it. Yeah, that's it. I don't offer financing. I guess that's one thing that a lot of people ask. I've looked into it. I've looked into using the same guys that the other guys in Canada use. Unless they know something I don't, financing starts at like 15.5%. Like, I was a financial planner in the past life. Like, if you absolutely need to finance your machine at 15% through a financing company because you can't get a loan from the bank, probably not the best use of your money. I'd love to sell you a machine. I'd love to make profit. Probably not the best person to sell it to. And that's not the business I want to run. I'm not looking to put people into financial distress because they want to buy a pinball machine. So I don't offer financing. Yeah, and that's worked for me for 10 years. So I'm probably going to continue with that method. That's about it. Oh, and my website sucks. If you get to this part of this and you're like, wow, this sounds really good. Let's go check out his website at woodstockcustomarcades.com. And then you look at it and you're like, oh, that's a pile of crap. It is. It's a pile of crap. And I might do something with it. And supposedly there's all kinds of SEO errors, which I didn't know existed until someone mentioned a month ago. Come September, I'm going to spend some time and I'm going to make it slightly less crappy. It is always going to be the weak point of my business because, not that I just don't care about it. I don't know anything about it. And so far, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it does drive a whole bunch of sales. But everyone I've asked, they're like, they want thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Do you know how many machines I have to sell to make that up? So I've always just said, hey, you know what? I'm probably not going to do that. Because if you check my pricing, you're going to realize I'm the lowest margin guy on the planet, to the best of my knowledge. Yeah. So anyways, that's it. 45 minutes later. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for sitting and watching this entire video. Bye for now.